Shall I tell you about this Roots story?
Yeah,
because that was interesting. So,
Roots made me hate white people for a good 2
and me
weeks.
too. Yeah, no, I went nuts.
I had to recover. Roots
I went
and Hotel Rwanda.
Hotel
was
Rwanda.
really bad for me. And then Roots, and then anytime I watch those type of movies, I kind of need a detox.
Seriously.
But anyway, sorry.
Well, no, you're exactly. It's exactly the same experience. So what had happened? It was very interesting the way it worked because Roots came on. I think it was 74. It might have been 75, but it was anyway. It was in that period, and we were just in our Black consciousness phase. And it was all about Ali versus Foreman and the Thriller in the Mirror and the Rumble in the Jungle and Ali and Fraser and all this kind of stuff. And all these amazing black athletes were coming to the fore. So it was a real Black Power thing. And we all had our Black Power t-shirts on, and it was kind of slightly ridiculous, but I was really into it. I was because I went from being the whitest black person that ever lived to being the blackest
white person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I literally went completely to the other end of the extreme, and I went the whole Marcus Garvey thing, and I was all into it. But even though that was a disaster,
you were in North London as well.
I was in Enfield.
That's a hub, right?
Yeah, except where I was in Enfield, so it was a bit of a joke because where we were, there was no black people anyway. So we had to take the bus to Edmonton to meet black people. But I kind of decided I was going to get really into it, and then I said the reggae thing didn't quite work. But anyway, so one night this show comes on TV, and it was serialised called Roots. And I remember, and we'd also just had a black woman called Beverly come to be a new staff member, and she had started to do things that we'd not had done for us before. So she came rolling our hair, and she was getting us, a coconut butter for our skin, and she was on it, and she was in my house. So we were children were dispersed amongst these 10 houses, and Beverly looked after my house. So suddenly my house became the kind of go-to place for all the black kids because Beverly would sit and do our hair and, as I said, do our skin and all the rest of it. And she would tell us about our blackness, and she would tell us about our history. And she was amazing, this woman. She began to fill our minds with this sense of what it meant to be black. Right, and then this show came on, and she said, okay, you have to watch this show because it's going to be very important for your education. So I remember us all sitting down, and some of the other boys came in and watched it with me. Oh my gosh. I wanted to kill it. I was going nuts. Right? I was so angry when I saw this show. Because it was the first real encounter I'd had with what the slavery narrative was about, and that was really interesting because it was funny because I didn't realise how. Well, I just didn't. I just like, what the hell's going on here? And that just sent me into a spin. And I remember we actually went out to go and find some white kids to fight with.
Seriously?
Yeah, we went out and we had an estate that was on the other side of us called the Padstow Estate. And we used to have like gang fights with them, and we just all gathered out and went out. And I remember doing it. I still remember this day. We used to have these big trolleys, and we got all the milk crates because there was hundreds of them. All there was in the home. There was loads of them because there were so many of us. And we filled all the milk crates up with all the empty milk bottles, and we took all the kids and we took them down in our trolleys, and we just went into the estate and we just started
Crazy.
We were crazy, but it was like, what the hell's all this about? And I didn't know what else to do. I kind of felt like I needed to do something. Yeah, it was really, I'm like, what? So that was really interesting, but I think that turned something because that then made me realise that actually this whole notion of, I was beginning to understand then what was going on in America with things like Superfly and the Isaac Hayes movement and all that sort of stuff, and Angela, it's my girl's name's gone out of my mind. Yeah, not Angela Bassett, Angela. Gosh, I can't remember the name. That's dreadful. That's almost embarrassing. And Maya Angelou and all these black activists that were talking really interesting stuff. And then I kind of started getting into the whole Martin Luther narrative. And then I had this really interesting choice, which was, okay. Which of these characters do you think is the more interesting character for you, Martin Luther King or Malcolm X? Because then there were these two different narratives. So I was
one apiece.
And actually, what I ended up doing is I ended up thinking one was a reggae guy and the other one was a soul boy.
Interesting.
So I was with Malcolm. I was with Martin Luther King. Because I thought who was to me the soul person type guy. And interestingly, I remember when we were in the first time I visited Atlanta. Going into Martin Luther King's home was just extraordinary. And being in Martin Luther King's home and just standing there and kind of understanding something of the fight and thinking about Rosa Parks and her whole story, and thinking about how in my lifetime we'd gone from Rosa Parks. There was a lovely thing that came out when Obama was elected. I think it's something like Rosa Parks sat in order that Malcolm would walk.
No, so that's Martin.
That Martin would walk.
Yeah.
In
so
order
Martin
that Obama could stand.
Yeah.
And it was really, and that was really
Yeah,
strong. And
yeah.
standing there suddenly thinking, so here I am in Atlanta, in Martin Luther King's home, and just literally 10 yards down the road is the Ebenezer Baptist Chapel, where which was his church, and then the Martin Luther King Museum is over to the side. And you just think to yourself, in my lifetime, are you telling me that has happened? And there's been some really interesting things like that. So I think about two of the big things, of course, the notion of Obama going from Rosa Parks to Obama. Yeah. And then also the other thing that's been enormous that's happened in my life generation is thinking about when I was that age, it was illegal to be homosexual. That was against the law.
Yeah, yeah.
And now you look at where we are today and you think, wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, it's absolutely.